He, who created heaven and earth, out of his power and might.
The poet's art, was from the start, a branch of wisdom's mighty tree. The task of poetry is holy, as all godly men agree.
I, Rustaveli, wrote this poem, a man whom fate would not release. Out of a tale, I made a poem, a sparkling diamond centerpiece. An ancient Persian tale I took, and in the Georgian tongue retold. Until that time, it was an unset pearl, from hand to hand it rolled.
A lake of ebony I used as ink, my reed was like a dart. Whoever hears the lines I have written, a spear will pierce his heart.
Shota Rustaveli. The night in the panther's skin. Tinatin sends Avtandil to look for the night. Avtandil sat alone in his room, to all bad feelings immune. He was sitting at a harp and singing, sounding a merry tune. Tinatin's ebony slave came in, and said, I pray, sir, go soon. She, who calls you, is slim as a poplar, her face is like the moon.
Avtandil rejoiced when he heard this, dearest dream was coming true. He arose and put on his best garments, and brightest coat, still new. He had longed to meet her, they'd never met alone, as lovers do. It's thrilling to be with beauty, to have your beloved with you.
Avtandil came openly to Tinatin, he was bold and proud. He came openly to her, for whom he had sometimes wept aloud. His peerless loved, one sat mournfully, as if with lightning endowed. Her brightness would have eclipsed the moon or stars in a lustrous crowd.
She wore that evening an ermine mantle, suitable for a queen. And priceless red veils, the likes of which Avtandil had never seen. The flash of her brilliant eyes, beneath heart-piercing lashes was keen. She had long thick hair and a white neck, glimpses of which he could glean.
Looking at him through her crimson veil, pensive and thoughtful she stayed. She greeted him softly, and bade him sit down, he gladly obeyed. The slave gave him a low seat, he sat calmly in front of the maid. And face to face, he gazed on her, full of great joy and unafraid.
Tinatin said, by what I'm going to tell you, I've been distressed. I would wish not to speak about it, but cannot avoid this test. Do you know the reason you are summoned here? Have you perhaps guessed why I feel so overwhelmed? Why you were brought here at my behest?
The knight said, my mood now is so bright, nothing dark can find a chink. If the bright moon meets the brighter sun, it will fade away and shrink. You have caught me at a loss, I am no longer able to think. Please tell me why you're distraught, and what will pull you back from the brink?
Then the maiden replied with elegant, well-chosen words, and said, many times you could have been near me. I kept you away instead. I wonder, how you got what you wanted this time, with no tears shed. But first, I'll name the malady, by which like a plague I am bled.
I'm sure you remember, when you and Rustaveli killed so much game. The strange knight you all saw weeping, vanished as quickly as he came. Since then, I have been prey to thoughts of him, and wondering his name. I beg you, search the bounds of sky for him, and thereby you'll earn fame.
Though this is the first time I have been able to converse with thee, yet, from afar have I perceived your great and certain love for me. I know that on my account, your eyes from tears have seldom been free. Love holds you prisoner, your heart's a captive, that much I can see.
This service I bid you, do benefits you in two ways, it's clear. First, you're a knight, and such a test as this hardens you against fear. Second, you're in love with me, and this quest shall make you doubly dear. Go then, and seek that strange weeping knight, be he far or be he near.
By seeking this knight, you'll strengthen your love for me, and when you're done, you shall have delivered me from grief, and crippled the evil one. Planted violets of hope in my heart, strewn roses one by one, then return, and I shall come to meet you, my lion and my son.
Seek for 3 years, the one I bid you seek, constant and not jaded. If you find him, come gaily, your victory shall be paraded. And if you fail, I shall know, he was a vision my mind braided. You shall return and find your rosebud, unwithered and unfaded.
I shall not wed, now, any husband but you, this much I can swear, even if the sun becomes man, incarnate for me, and stands there. If I don't stay true to you, may I be caught in a hellish snare, may my love for you kill me, if I give you reason to despair.
The knight replied, O sun, whose eyelashes are made of darkest jet. What have I said to you or done, that you doubt my worth even yet? I longed for death, you have renewed my will to live. I'm in your debt. I obey you like a slave, your commandment I shall not forget. He went on, O sun, since God created you a sun in the sky, the heavenly planets obey your commandments, or humbly try, the words you've given me, are my greatest reward, and you know why. Since, your rays shine generously on it, my rose shall never die.
How could I regret, being in the service of one such as you? I will not delay, but will leave tomorrow, accept this as true. The misery of my heart, has turned into happiness undue. There's nothing more precious to me than this, that you my life renew.
They promised each other, and many a solemn oath they both swore. They confirmed vows to each other, and made promises by the score. The grief they had borne, lightened until it was easy to ignore. Like white lightning reflected, their teeth flashed, and their bright eyes said more.
They sat together, they made merry, saying all there was to say. In their clear faces, ruby lips and jet black eyes, their hearts held sway. The knight said, I'll go mad who gaze on you, as I have done today. The fire, whose source is you, has turned my fond heart to ashes grey.
The youth got up to leave, but kept looking back, unable to part. His eyes were dazed, every backward glance was like a love-poisoned dart. Hail rained down, and froze the rose, in his body he felt trembling start. Urged on by his great love, he had tied his heart to another's heart.
He thought, Sun, the rose suffers when it's separated from your light. My crystal and ruby, are duller than amber, they are not bright. What shall I do, when for a long time, you will not be in my sight? To die for my beloved, will become the one rule of this night.
He lay down and wept. He wiped away his tears, his weeping increased. Like an aspen in a strong wind, he swayed, his trembling never ceased. He fell asleep and dreamed, his beloved was with him at a feast. He startled and cried out, his sorrow 20 times greater at least.
Sadness grew, in his separation from his love, though it was short. He shed pearl tears, his cheeks softened, and seemed then of a paler sort. When day dawned, he apparelled himself, to ensure a fair report. He mounted his horse, and went looking for an audience at court.
He sent a chamberlain with a message, to give to the king's hand. The message said, O king, I venture to say what I understand, all of the earth is subject to your sword, and under your command. Now, if it be thy will, I shall go on a quest throughout the land.
To the farthest reaches of your ruling, there quickly shall I go. I shall make Tinatin known, by piercing the heart of every foe. The loyal shall rejoice, the disobedient shall I bring low. I shall often send you news, in sending gifts, I shall not be slow.
The king thought to himself gratefully, in words that were like a song, O lion Avtandil, in looking for battle, you are not wrong. Your words and acts show you, to be a man both sensitive and strong. Your wish is here granted, but what shall I do, if you tarry long?
The knight came in, did homage, and had many words of thanks to say. O king, single out noble others, for your highest praise, I pray. If God lightens for me the gloom, of going my separate way, I'll rejoice at seeing you again, on some future joyful day.
The king thereupon embraced Avtandil, and kissed him like a son. As a loving parent and child, like unto them there have been none. The knight rose and went away, for Rustaveli all delight seemed done. He, so wise and kind of heart, wept for him, whose journey had begun.
So, young Avtandil rode out into the world, a courageous knight. 20 days he journeyed, many a day he made one with the night. He was meant to be the treasure of the world, its most joyous sight. His mind was always on Tinatin, she, for whom his love burned bright.
Wherever Avtandil went, he made people forget to be sad. Everywhere, nobles gave him gifts, and shared with him the best they had. This night went quickly. He did not waste a moment, this sun-faced lad. Just to be with him people, thought was reason enough to be glad.
His strong city struck terror, in men of hostile regions or race. Like a mortarless wall, a surrounding cliff, stretched up into space. Avtandil spent near that city, a full 3 days in pleasant chase. And appointed his pupil, Shota, the vizier of that place.
This was he, of whom previously, we had occasion to write, his faithful childhood companion, ever devoted, as was right. Till then, he had been unaware, of the fire burning the night. Avtandil told him the solemn promise, made by the maiden bright.
He said, "Loyal Shota, today I feel ashamed before you. You've always done your best, to do, whatever I asked you to do. You know me well, but do not know, what tears I have shed hitherto. Now she, for whom I once suffered, makes happiness spring up anew.
I am slain by love for our queen, who daily more beautiful grows. Hot tears from the narcissus of my eyes, made moist the frosted rose. I have taken it as my duty, to keep secret all my woes. Now, that she bids me hope, I have no doubt, my heart's joyfulness shows."
She said to me, "Go Avtandil, and bring me news of that lost night. When you return, I shall fulfill your heart's desire, as best I might. I want no other husband, though he be an aloe of delight." Her speaking thus, gave me the balm of my heart, until then bound tight.
"First I wish, to be my lady's loyal knight, for all my life's span. A vassal should be faithful, and serve his ruler as best he can. My heart is no longer black, she has quenched the fire she began. A man, must not swerve before misfortune, but meet it like a man.
Of all lords and vassals, you and I, are as close as we can be. Therefore I have come, that you may hear the news, directly from me, as temporary lord and chief of my armies, I appoint thee, there's no one else to whom, I could give this responsibility.
In my stead, lead our soldiers into battle, help them conquer fear, send our messengers to court, making the state of our homeland clear. Write letters for me, and give people gifts, priceless or at least dear. When you are in charge, don't let anyone know, my absence from here.
Go hunting in my stead, and do not let our army fall asleep. Wait here for me 3 years, telling no one the secret you now keep. If I return unfated, my gratitude you shall surely reap. And if I should not come back by then, mourn and grieve for me, and weep.
If 3 years pass without my return, tell the king that I am dead. Announce my death, show him your distress, in saying what must be said. Say, he entered the valley whence none emerge, whither all are led. Give to the poor my treasure, gold, silver, copper. Let them be fed.
Thus you shall help me. In this way, you shall do me the greatest boon. I pray, that you think of me often, and do not forget me soon. Pray for my soul, make sure, my path onward, with provisions is strewn. Remember my youth. Let your heart for me, play a motherly tune."
When the servant heard this, alarm and concern caught him by surprise. Like a cascade of glistening pearls, hot tears then fell from his eyes. He said, "To say I am glad and worthy, would be to utter lies. I know though, you won't stay. To try to hinder you would not be wise.
But I don't think, to govern in your stead, is possible for me. How can I undertake the lordship, How can I resemble thee? I hate thinking of you alone, I'd rather earth my cradle be. Can we not then, both steal forth, that I may stay in your company?
The knight said, I'll speak openly, the truth has no need of a shield. A lover should be alone, when he decides to wander the field. No one gets a pearl for free, simply because he's seen it revealed. A treacherous man, should be pierced with a lance, and thus made to yield.
To whom, could I entrust my lordship but you, the worthiest one? Who else could see the things, that need doing, and ensure they are done? Fortify the marches, let me not hear, that our enemies won. Perhaps I'll return, if I be not lost, in the tale God has spun.
Whether singly or in a group, fate takes away all who are born. Loneliness won't matter, if heaven's powers, their help have forsworn. If I haven't come back in 3 years, don funeral garb and mourn. I'll give you a letter, my courtiers will not treat you with scorn. He, who created heaven and earth, out of his power and might.
The poet's art, was from the start, a branch of wisdom's mighty tree. The task of poetry is holy, as all godly men agree.
I, Rustaveli, wrote this poem, a man whom fate would not release. Out of a tale, I made a poem, a sparkling diamond centerpiece. An ancient Persian tale I took, and in the Georgian tongue retold. Until that time, it was an unset pearl, from hand to hand it rolled.
A lake of ebony I used as ink, my reed was like a dart. Whoever hears, the lines I have written, a spear will pierce his heart.
Shota Rustaveli. The knight in the panther's skin.